and I took a handful of Xanax, passed out in the bathroom. They had to remove the door, take me to the hospital. But I remember the conversation that I had in the bathroom by myself. And I was just like, F you, God, like, why did you bring me into this world? Like, who brings a kid into this world for this kind of life, And I really just wanted to die.
Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, I saw you on TikTok originally. A lot of recovery stuff. Now, what's your sober date?
Mine is March 27th, 2016.
Okay, so you're going up on 6 years.
Yeah, next month.
6 months, 6 years. Congrats.
Thank you.
What was going on for you March 2016 to where you decided to find recovery this time?
I didn't have recovery prior to working in treatment, actually. I didn't know about AA, NA, detox, anything. I started using really young, and it kind of just progressed and spiraled. And it wasn't until I got pregnant with my oldest son that I just cold turkeyed it, like in a trap house. Didn't know about Suboxone or methadone or detox. I knew nothing. I was 17. All my family were actively addicts. I didn't hear about them, going to a clinic or to detox. So I just thought, this is what I have to do. I grew up in foster care, and I didn't want that for my son. So I stopped everything. And I had like a horrible pregnancy with him. But looking back, I'm like, was it severe all day sickness, or was I kicking? You know what I mean? Or was it both?
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, it was like the only thing from the time I first tried to get clean at 17 until 24 was being pregnant.
Okay, so the first time you tried to get clean when you were 17 in the trap house.
Yeah.
Well, you were 17 in the trap house, right? But when you actually did find sobriety, you were 24.
Right.
7 years later. So how old are you now? 6 years later. You're 30. Okay, I'm trying to keep on the clock. And you're always out in California, or where did you find sobriety in California?
It was in California.
Okay. Well, as you know, in treatment in California, a lot of people are implants to California to go there for treatment and then stay.
Right.
Like I just literally had another TikTok creator, Abby, on recently, and she's from Pittsburgh, but she got sober in California and stayed for like a year working in treatment. I almost stayed. I got sober in the city, and I almost ended up with a job working in treatment. I feel like if you do good in rehab, then they're just like, we'll give you a job and we'll keep you around because we want you to be positive in our community. We want you to be positive people coming in to show that you can stick around. So I feel like you get jobs easier, like to you if you stick around long in those kind of treatments. They want you to have term sobriety inside their treatment. Did you stick out like? So that's what I mean. Are you in Southern California, or are you in what part of California?
I'm in Southern California.
Okay. No, are you close by to where I was? We can take it out. I'm just curious if we know anybody in because I know so many people in treatment, work in treatment in LA. Have even been on my show.
I have sober livings in LA, so I know most of the recovery community out there.
Okay. My sober living was unique in LA in that it was only one in the country that allowed cannabis.
Oh wow, there's a lot popped up recently.
Yeah, mine was High Sobriety was an 8. It was in Culver City, and I think they're shut. I think they're down now because like I'm getting phone calls from random debt collectors, and they don't know what High Sobriety. So like, I think they've sold my debt off, and they're just not there anymore. But the sober livings in LA is kind of weird, and even treatment in LA is a lot different because you don't even know that it's a treatment center because it looks like a house most of the time inside a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the neighbors would have no idea that this is a rehab inside unless like you do just know because like
psychosis running around. That's questions.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we did have a couple of them. It's I wasn't big at meth, Meth wasn't my thing, and then I met so many people in LA in rehab that it was like a 50-50. It was like 40-40 split, 40 opiates, 40 meth, and then 20% alcohol.
Yeah.
like it was definitely that kind of ratio split.
Mhm.
Now was that your drug of choice, meth?
Yeah, meth and pills, cocaine, and alcohol. I mean, I kind of,
And really?
yeah, I wasn't picky. I was pickier about my food than I was about my drugs or what I was gonna do that day.
So I've been told I'm picky about my food too, so I still get made fun of that at 35. Now, so if you're growing up in foster care, were you like moved around a lot, or did you have the same parents? Like, because I had a girl on the show. She grew up in foster care, but she had a great experience in foster care where she, her dad was her dad, and her mom was her mom, and she had like they had a great kind of relationship, and they still do. So, but that wasn't your experience.
Partially, yes. When I was first taken, I was 3, and it was my little brother and sister, and they were about 18 months. And we went to a place called Casa Pacifica, which was where kids went when they weren't placed with foster homes or group homes yet, and couldn't be with their parents. So we went there for a little while, and we were like a complete shit show. I make the joke with them now that whoever did our assessment, it must have been like 4:45, because our descriptions were like, I was animalistic, my little sister was emaciated, and he wrote down that my brother was mentally retarded. And it was just like, you spent like 10 minutes with us.
You're animalistic, and you're 4, and you've been taken from like
I was
what?
3. Yeah.
You were 3. Like that's such a crazy description to give somebody that's 3 years old that you spent 10 minutes with, and this is how you're gonna like label them, like a 3-year-old just like going through a traumatic event.
Yeah, and my
No,
little brother, who he said was, mentally retarded. And that's literally how he put it. I don't know if that's PC,
no,
but
no, no, no. It's fine. It's how we put it. Yeah.
yeah, that's what he put. And my little brother is like super intelligent. He's in the military. He's like, this is his second term serving for the country. So it's like we just laugh about, what our descriptions were when we first went in, as opposed to how we are now.
Now, can I ask if you were taken because of drugs? Was that something that you were born around too?
Yeah, so my mom is well, she's still an addict, but she's also like schizophrenic and has a
Okay.
lot of health issues.
No,
Um,
I understand. I was engaged with somebody that was schizophrenic, and it's not easy.
yeah.
Like on them, and it's drugs take a toll on schizophrenia on top of that because the brain is already rewired to begin with, let alone what drugs do to the brain of it. And yeah, it depends on the drugs. Depends on what's going to happen. I got an argument with somebody in a Facebook group the other day because I fully support cannabis, right? But I don't fully support cannabis use if you're schizophrenic.
Right.
Because seeing what happens, somebody was like, "Oh, you can't go into psychosis from cannabis." Is like, yes, the fuck you can. You can. If you are a schizophrenic and you smoke, you were going to have an episode. And they're like, "No, girl is just psychotic," and that like pissed me off because I was like, "You don't, she should not be dead, but you fucking can call her psychotic." Like what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that hurt. And because there's a difference with people, whether it's schizophrenic and they try to mix it into their head. If you're using alcohol, it's gonna numb those in your head.
Right.
And it's gonna take it away. Yeah. But if you're using another kind of substance, it's actually going to like make it worse. It's gonna make the voice louder.
Mhm.
So it's not gonna be able to hear anything. Like, cause like I'm not sure about your mom. Is she the type of person that like would drink out of her closet to make this like stop? Because that's what I've seen happen is like she'll go into the closet and then drink till the voices stop because that's where it's quiet, it's in a small space.
She was much more dramatic than that. She just kind of ran with it. Like,
Okay. So there's more traumatic to that because your little child doesn't know what the hell's going on.
yeah. And my older sister, she was about 13 at that time, and my mom were using together, but she had to, like, we have a complete different relationship with mom because I know her as like the monster that I knew her for. my sister knew her when she could use and still be a mom, functional, not a regular mom, but at least she made sure that we were taken care of.
Yeah.
And my sister told me that they were using, and slowly my mom started getting more paranoid. And she would be like, they're following us. That car's following us. We have to go. And my sister was like, who? What are you talking about? And she said the scariest part for her, I think she was about 13, and we were in an apartment. And she came home from, I don't know, maybe school, hopefully. And my mom had said, we have to leave. And she was like, what do you mean? Where are we going? And she was like, I have Michael Jackson in that jar over there, and there's underground zombie police that are spying on us. We have to leave now. And I felt, it wasn't until I was older that I could really appreciate like how hard that had to have been for my sister. Because she's a minor, she doesn't have control over the situation. She's already more of an adult in the house than my mom was. And then to know that now you have to be homeless with 3 little kids and your mom that's on a sick one in full psychosis, basically. So they ended up.
How's your sister doing now?
She's actually clean now. Yeah, it's really cool because growing up, she was always using, and we were always in and out of each other's lives. And now she's got 3 beautiful sons, and she's been clean for about 9 years.
Oh, that's awesome. She even found sobriety before you did.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now, how many times did you have like issues that between, if you're trying to find free at 17 but don't find until 24? I feel like you had to try in that 7 years at least once, or is it just a full on 7-year run that you did the first?
No, so what would happen was my kids were like the one thing that I could just turn it off for. So my son, it was like, okay, cold turkey, I have a baby now. Didn't realize what kind of family I was marrying into, but they were very they were like born again Christians, and white supremacists, which I wasn't aware of because I was loaded for the past 4 years in this house. And they told me, your baby's going to be born damned to hell, a bastard, like all this stuff. And it just scared me because I'm 17 or 18 at the time. And I'm like, I just want to be a good mom. And so we ended up getting married. That only lasted a year. I did good for that year. And then when we split up, he would take him on the weekends. And I was like, well, I don't have a kid on the weekends, So then it was like, okay, I could do this on the weekends, or I can do this. I was going to school at the time for dental assisting. And so I was like managing like, okay, I'm going to do this before school, and I'm going to do a really great job cleaning teeth and making my little IRMs, and then like go be a mom, But there was always a point where it just spiraled out eventually. So I ended up getting pregnant again by someone else. Same thing, turns off, cold turkey, back to my shit, you know what I mean? But the difference was he was an addict. And so that made it really hard because he was using throughout my entire pregnancy. And it was just it was a much different experience trying to stay clean when you're with someone who's absolutely not.
Yeah, and who's not trying to stay clean either. It's not only that they're not clean. It's like, it sounds to me like, sorry, you can't get high with me today, and then gets high on you.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is unfair.
And then what all that doing to you is just making it so that when you can get high, you're gonna get fucking high.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be like, I'm making a lost time. I'm kind of high. Like, which is a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah.
Because that can go from 0 to 100 and not even do like the baby steps back into getting tolerance back. Do you have any overdoses when you started using again into that?
Can you repeat that last
Did
part?
you have any overdoses once you started using again after that?
No.
No, but you weren't really into like using because that were gonna make you overdose. So
but I was very particular on how and when I used and what I used with who, because that was my fear, was like dying and not being able to be there for my kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to commit suicide right before I found out I was pregnant with my first son. and I took a handful of Xanax, passed out in the bathroom. They had to remove the door, take me to the hospital. But I remember the conversation that I had in the bathroom by myself. And I was just like, you know, F you, God, like, why did you bring me into this world? Like, who brings a kid into this world for this kind of life, you know? And I really just wanted to die. And I remember the last thing I remember before it was like just a full blackout was like, if you're going to keep me in this world, you had better give me a fucking reason, you know? And then when I came back home from the hospital, I had like a routine, like drinking in the morning, snorting pills, and then doing our thing throughout the day. And I tried to drink and I immediately threw up. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, give me an oxy. You know what I mean? So then I'm like trying to snort this shit and I keep getting sick to the point where I'm like, why is my body rejecting everything? Okay, I'm gonna try drinking again, you know? And then that goes on for a few weeks and I'm finally like, I've slowed down a lot because I'm just like, I don't know what's going on with my body. My stomach hurts. I feel like I'm being stabbed in the stomach. I keep going to the hospital. I'm like, fix me. You know, I have things I need to do today. And finally I find out that I'm pregnant. And then that's when I cold turkeyed for my son. And but what would happen was it would just basically turn into a routine where
that was the first time you got pregnant.
Right.
When you
Right.
okay, that makes sense. I'm like girls know if they're like had birth of time what it feels like to be pregnant. The next time they're pregnant, like I could have swore I saw on a movie once. The girls like, oh, I'm pregnant, and you know they just know. once you've been pregnant, you just know when you're pregnant again. Like
Well,
that's
yeah,
just
attention.
yeah, that's true. No,
I
that's true.
12 weeks. Wasn't that like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, when you're 17, it's a little bit different, especially like when you're living that kind of lifestyle. Like, so when did you leave like foster care to like just go live in a trap house?
So
Like,
I
how do you go from foster care to a trap house?
so the trap house, it was my two best friends. And it was it was I can't say his name, but it was one of my best friend's grandma's houses.
Mhm.
And all the siblings just run amok there. And my foster home, it wasn't like we weren't really on good terms by that point because I was so far gone and just like, you're not going to tell me what the fuck to do at this point.
Oh, they didn't want to put up with you anymore.
Yeah, so I was just like, I'm
Would have
out. And
thought. Was your siblings there with them?
no, my siblings were adopted out.
Because they
Probably,
were younger.
yeah, they were adopted out by their biological aunt. So my mom had 7 kids and everyone had different dads except for the twins. But
Which is those two? They're twins.
right, the little ones are,
Okay. JD, they're the same fucking age. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Like, duh. It's been a long day already. So, okay. That makes sense. And especially, you know, that they're twins, you want to keep them together, you know, that, so. But again, so you're just nursing around. How many foster kids did you have?
I was in one home primarily, but I would get put into like, you know, when there was issues, I would end up in a group home or another foster home for emergency
This
placement.
episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, you know, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and, you know, all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, you know, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you know, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
Get you into work at treatment eventually.
So I had 3 kids and it was like this same pattern where it was like, got pregnant, perfect angel, whole pregnancy, did good for about, you know, 2 years or almost 2 years after, not that I was doing good. I would be solid for like up until they were a certain age, and then I would figure out a way to reintroduce what I wanted back into my schedule. And then it again. So by the third kid, I'm a single mom. I'm raising my little sister. I have my 2 younger kids, older brother half the week every week. And I just like, I wanted to die. I was like, I cannot get pregnant to get my life together again. Like I need to, there's got to be something. And my best friend, she was like, oh, I got a job at this treatment center. And she was a caregiver previously. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Are they hiring? She's like, yeah, they'll start you off at this much. And I was like, oh, sign me up. I was like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, people detox. And I was like, oh, like dieting? It's like a diet place? And she's like, no, like detoxing from drugs. And I was like, that sounds cool. You know, so then I'm like, sign me up. So she ends up getting me a job at a detox they had all levels of care. So I would help in the detox, but I primarily did their sober livings for like the IOP level clients that they kept.
Yep.
And I loved it. I was like, this is so cool. And then I'm taking them to meetings and I'm like, this is super fun, you know? And so I kind of learned about the different outlets through that. But then I also in a way kind of turned that into my recovery, which I know everyone's like, you can't use your job as recovery, but you know, to each their own. That helped me through a lot of stuff. And then
it depends on how you're using it, in my opinion. So like, you're not using your job, you're just finding new ways to cover through things in your job, in my opinion. It's almost like you didn't realize that you could do AA. You didn't realize, so like, not your job didn't create AA, job created an opportunity for you to learn about it so you could explore it more on your own.
Yeah, and I was creating a life that I didn't feel so much that I needed to escape all the time, because I was making new friends and they're clean friends. And then I'm learning about, you know, things about recovery, and I'm getting a sponsor, and I want to be a good role model for these clients, because I'm realizing like these people are fucking cool, you know, like you get really attached to the clients that you work with when they're there long term. And
how long have you been doing that then in your recovery? You've been in recovery now 6 years, so how long have you been doing that part of it?
My entire recovery.
Okay. So how sober were you when you first got into it?
I was very newly sober, and to be honest, I lied and I was like, I have a year.
I was gonna say, hey, you need a year of
Yeah,
I know that.
she told me, she's like, you have to tell them you have at least a year, and I was like, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Because you didn't know what you were getting yourself into, but luckily it worked definitely.
No idea. I was just like, I kind of just winged it. It was like I pick up on things really quick, but then I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. Like, you're kicking hard. I know what you're kicking, you know? Like, I've been around this my whole life. I already know what's going on. And so it was just applying, like, or the room searches. I loved room searches because I would find everything, you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, like, when you're searching through the room, the contraband.
Yeah.
When you're looking for hiding spots, or where they're hiding and shit.
Yeah.
Whether they're storing cereal, or whether they're storing some meds for like they get creative. Most addicts are some of the most creative people when it comes down to it. And when it comes to when they want to get high, they're gonna do some of the most creative shit to sneak it into rehab or hide it from you in rehab.
Oh yeah. And then
it takes an addict to find an addict.
Exactly. And that treatment center hired a lot of normies. So I'm like all-star.
They don't stand a chance. Yeah, we manipulate the fuck out of a normie.
Refrigerator. Why is there vanilla in the refrigerator? They're like, oh. I was like, why is there whipped cream? I'm like, do you not realize?
Yeah, it's funny because it's the little things that normies don't know, and that's what addicts manipulate and use just to their advantage. Because at the end of the day, I'm always going to be an addict. And except for now, I'm definitely more aware of, like, I don't manipulate somebody or something. And I'm always having, because manipulation is a part of life. It's just a matter of if you're manipulating to serve yourself, serve the other person.
Right.
You know, manipulating them to not be serving them, but to serve themselves. And you're just helping them to see things, not manipulating in a sense that's going to be harmful or hurtful. So it's a matter of listening and paying attention to how you're talking to people. But you can do that when you're high as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manipulation, like I still have to work on like, am I being a good person right now? Or is
I
like
have to call people. Yeah, Rachel, I gotta call people. I'm like, hey, this is what just happened. Am I a bad person?
yeah.
Like right now, and right now she's listening. She knows exactly who I'm talking about. Like, and she watches my show, and she knows to call her. And I'm like, hey, blah blah blah. Am I a bad person for this? Because I can hear this shit. And she'll be like, no, that's about over. You're good.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Sometimes I don't, and I'm like, I need verification. When you start making like TikToks for recovery?
I had wanted to do it for a really long time, and I was just like, oh, I feel stupid. I don't want to do this. Or I'd keep putting it off. And then finally I was like, fuck it. Let's just do this. You know, my background a lot is in marketing, advertising, SEO, Google Analytics. And TikTok is a really great platform for all of those things because it's the number one most used and downloaded.
Yep.
You know, so it's free. So it's free advertising and networking and marketing. So that's kind of what's kept my sober livings, I would say, going really well, is because I've stayed on top of Facebook, Instagram, whatever's trending. And TikTok was like the one thing that I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But then I was like, I don't care. So I just started doing them with my friend. And I mean, it was fun. We just tried to make it fun.
Yeah. Were any responses like in recovery community? Because like I found you was post and recovery type stuff. Was there something like I wasn't sure if you had any responses from anybody that wants you to keep going or keep making them, or how long you making them? Because I went on TikTok for free like in July, and it was just to put out clips from my show.
Right.
And then I wasn't even thinking about like finding people to interview there. I was hoping to find people locally at the time. And then I started realizing I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm not in LA anymore where I can't find 500 meet a week. So I can't find that many people to interview in person. But then I was like, oh, people watch TikTok all day long. So there has to, and then yeah, sure enough, there was videos like you and hundreds of other people on there that are posting recovery content. That's like some of it's comedy, some of it's like funny, but some of it's like serious. Like what do you mostly post?
I try to do variety, and just sometimes it's based on like the mood I'm in, because I'm very transparent with the clients, and I tell them, even after 6 years, there's days where I feel triggered. There's days where I just want to say fuck it, and I want it. I don't like to sugarcoat things with people, so I'd rather be transparent with what we're showing, that even with 6 years, and even I've talked to people with 20 years, I've seen people go out with 20 years.
Yep.
So I like the idea of spreading the positivity, but also, and, laughing has always been my number one coping mechanism, but there's also a side of seriousness to it that needs to be talked about. And yeah, like you had said earlier, I've gotten messages from people or comments, and they say, thank you for posting this. Or there was one girl who had said that my TikToks help her stay sober. And I was just like, what? Cutest thing for someone to say. But yeah, I've received a lot of like support and positivity on there, and that makes
laughter is definitely that's definitely like a thing because like to the point where that's all I'm about is like I find acceptance laughter. Like, you know what I mean? I find accepting a lot easier when I can find it to laugh at. No matter how traumatic they are, if I can find a way to laugh at it and I find myself laughing at it, then I'm accepting of it. It's a lot easier to move on from it. Like I'll just shameless plug for my other new show right here. Laughter's a drug. Period.
Oh, nice.
And that is a live show on a channel like on YouTube where we're gonna have guests and we do stuff where it's telling stories from addiction, and it's also gonna be doing some sketches where like I'm right now I'm writing a sketch where it's dating but the rehab dating game, and I'm gonna do a pre-recorded sketch with like a contestant and we're contestants and trying to win the date in rehab with this one. That's also a creator, and I'm getting a bunch of creators together to do like sketch and shit, like kind of a variety show like SNL, but recovery where we just drop in some sketches or the memes of the week or whatever and stuff like that.
No, that's
So
awesome. There needs to be more of that, because it's like in recovery or this whole community, it's, you have to be a certain type of person. You have to be an addict, and like why we find this so funny. You know what I mean? Like, why is Narcaning someone a joke to you right now? And it's like, oh, I guess it's not. You know what I mean?
I think that also, you know, we laugh as we relate to. Like, if I'm laughing at one of your ridiculous stories you're talking about in an addiction, it's mostly I'm laughing happening to me too, and I'm picturing it in myself in your shoes. Like, especially in a meeting, right? When you're in a meeting and your laughter, that bunch of people relate to what you're saying.
Yeah. It's the one,
They're not laughing at you, they're laughing with you in a meeting.
right. And it's that feeling of acceptance. And I think a lot of people turn to drugs. And when people turn to drugs and alcohol at a younger age, I really, really believe it's because of a lack of acceptance or identity issues or not feeling like part of, you know what I mean? And that's actually, so I wrote a kid's book that was published last year called The Secret Silly Soda Club.
That's awesome. I'll put the link. Let me see it. I'll put the link in the bio too. What's it called?
It's The Secret Silly Soda Club. It's kind
Secret Silly Soda Club.
Yeah, and it's referencing.
Okay. Is it an AA?
Yeah.
But from a kid's perspective.
Right. So
that's fucking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I love.
It's about a little girl whose mom has to go to treatment, and then when she comes back, because she drinks too much silly soda, you know. So the silly soda is alcohol. She goes to a special school, which is rehab. When she comes home, she doesn't drink silly soda anymore. She has a new best friend she talks to every day, which is her sponsor. And then, you know, the little girl's going to meetings, and at the end, she gets to have birthday cake, which is the mom's 1 year.
The 1 year cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, I love that.
Thank you. Yeah.
That is so cool because well, one, the cake thing, they wouldn't wear about. Like, the cake is not everywhere. The cake giving, we like. When I tell people like, oh yeah, that person was going on a cake, and you know, because I have a 29-year chip in my wallet, and it was a chip a dude gave to me because I saw him collect 4 cakes for his 29 years. I was meeting hopping like crazy at the time.
Yeah.
Trying to do 250 and 90. So like I was going all over LA, and so I kept seeing this dude. So he gave me this chip, and I was telling somebody, like, hey, he gave me this chip. I saw him collecting cakes. And I gave him 2 of 4 cakes that I saw him. He was like cakes? What are you talking about? I'm like, you know, it was his 29th birthday, and we gave him a cake. Like what? No, it's a chip you give him. I'm like, oh, never mind. I forgot where I'm at. Like, you know,
button birthday.
yeah. It's not hard for you to follow. I don't understand why you can't follow what we're doing here. There was one meeting though that we were always so broke inside the meeting that could never do cakes. They would just hold up a big lighter, and that's what you blew out was the big lighter. That was over in Marina Del Rey, and that was at late night at 11 p.m. I used to go to every night, and yeah, we can't barely afford the rent for that meeting loan the cakes, and I don't think there's even really there at the time. But that was my favorite meeting to go to, was a late meeting, like, because you get everybody that's in their 20s that are showing up that are meeting, and it's not the rehab meeting, because you go to an PM meeting and it's filled with people that are from treatment centers that are being. Do your clients call your vans anything particular?
Do they what? I'm sorry?
Do they call the vans anything particular, either your clients?
It cut out.
Like, we called, like, the one van was like a defeat machine.
Oh, I call them Advans.
Advan. I knew you had something. Advans or what?
Druggy buggies.
Druggy buggies. Yeah, that's a really popular one. Dauphine limousine was another one that was here. But Ativan's a good one. That's that's a good one. But I always we would fucking write the side and dust. Like, people would write messages aside. It's like I would get in trouble all the fun time. but it's that happens with a bunch of drug addicts and alcoholics and rehab together, trying to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah,
It's especially when you go out for a meeting too, and you take them out to a meeting, and it's like you, and then somebody else, and then 15 other people that from the treatment center, and you're trying to keep wrangled up and sitting in the same section and make sure they're not holding hands, and it's like you have to do. That's what I said, holding hands, because they're in a meeting.
I'm like, I don't know how it is in Pennsylvania, but in LA it was a pain.
No, but that's how I got sober, was in LA. I flew. Yeah, I left. I was like, I went all the way out there for it, and I stayed out there. I was on West Side the entire time. Though I was in Venice the entire time. I had a home in Santa Monica that I went to every day at noon. That was 20th Broad. And then I would Marina every night at 11. I was in Marina Del Rey. I lived in Culver City, and I would go to Highwood Recovery Center every Tuesday. Just because the meeting called "See you next Tuesday," and it's just what puts a smile on my face. Literally saying their name is "See you next Tuesday" makes me smile. But when I went there, it's because I was trying to run into Demi Lovato. It was like her home group, and then I get to rehab, and song Sober comes out. I'm like, oh, not gonna see her at all.
Harder? Really?
Literally, like 2 weeks of being in rehab, she put out a song saying I've relapsed. But I still went to that meeting because I had other friends that went to that meeting. It was a fun meeting to go to. But I loved, going to meetings all around there. We were meeting hopping. It was a fun time, especially in Venice. My home group was literally a house that's now an official recovery center called Muck Recovery. But before that, just my friend's garden, and she would do tattoos in the front yard, and we would just hang out and do like meeting that wasn't even books.
Yeah.
And that would be the best kind of meeting, So it's different. Variety is different everywhere. Where the way they run meetings, and like you said, have you written any books? Was that your only? Have you written any other books?
The other 2 were supposed to come out this year.
Oh, so you have written other things. Were they other ones for children's too?
Yeah, they're all. It's a series of kids books. This one touches on addiction. The other one touches on foster care, and the other one is about trauma. But they're so it's like the second one coming out is Bobby Bear Goes to Foster Care.
Bobby Bear Goes to Foster Care.
Yeah, and then the third one, Little Llama Learns About Trauma.
Little Llama Learns About Trauma. Those are great names. Like that, I'm so excited for you. That's awesome. I'll remember definitely to have any kind of like links that you have like in the description, whether you're watching or listening. Because if anything, like that's why I don't like to do research on people I talk to find this stuff out. But that's cool shit you're doing. I think out of all of this, like it's teaching kids that it's like that they're okay because their parents have problems. Like you said, big thing that's missing out on. It's confusing for kids to grow up like yourself. Like these stories that you wish you had yourself, right?
Right. Yeah. Growing up, it was like the closest thing I remember to ever being able to somewhat relate to book-wise was A Child Called It. And I was like, that is so fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I seriously believe that's when I look back on my childhood a lot, I was outcasted for being a foster kid, or I was automatically assumed to be bad because I was a foster kid, or just I automatically was set aside from the other kids. I would see their parents picking them up or their dad at the father-daughter dance. There was just so many times growing up where I was like, it's me, something's wrong with me, I'm not getting
because you don't see stories that's about that remind you then that means you're nobody else is like you, and you must be the weird one, because I'm not on TV. I don't see little girls like me on TV that have parents that are in addiction. Exactly. So I must be crazy.
Like your mom doesn't talk about the Queen of England and have Michael Jackson in a jar? Okay, I'm the problem.
I think right now, if my wife's watching, she's laughing right now at the fact that you just related her to her mom. Thank you for that. So, but yeah, that's awesome. That I think that is so important that you're actually you're putting out like stories for little kids to like be represented. to be represented, most importantly. Like, to understand what trauma is, to understand what foster care is and what addiction is. Like these are all like such important things that aren't done. And the fact that you're trying to reach that audience, all the audiences, like, that's so fucking cool.
Well, I think they all tie into each other. I mean, I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but I want to say almost all addicts have suffered from some kind of trauma. And kids in foster care, it's between 40 and 60% for category. I can't remember specifically, but it's like they either end up in jail, homeless, or addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, I remember growing up, it wasn't things that we talked about. I wasn't allowed to tell someone I was a foster kid because, you know, they don't tell them you're a foster kid, you know, or if I was getting loaded, it was like, oh no, Rachel's just tired. Rachel's just taking a nap at the table. Oh no, her stomach must hurt. She's just in the restroom. She's having tummy problems. You know, it was always like, hush, hush. And I've heard that from so many people. It's a conversation that we haven't been having, you know, and then my generation, it's the opioid epidemic. So it's like, maybe we need to have a fucking conversation. And I'm hoping that through these books, in some way or something, it's giving exposure, it's opening a door to conversation, and hopefully changing and preparing the next generation.
Yeah. I mean, just talking about it, just having it out there and giving more voices to it is what's important. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. I mean, you're putting out content that yeah, you're putting fun content on TikTok, but you're also putting out content that's going to be like in libraries and shit that little kids can read and be like, oh, okay, so I can be like Bobby Bear in foster care, and this is okay because this happened to Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And definitely keep me updated with that. And congrats on coming up 6 years.
Thank
like
you.
I think and you're doing amazing things. It's so funny how like you didn't go to rehab, but yet you work in rehab and you're like it's fun because like recovery is based on rehab and treat center, but yeah, you did go to rehab treatment for your recovery. You just you got a job, and then it like by proxy it just like worked out that way. We're like oh, this helped me too.
Yeah, I wanted to do sober livings. I had an opportunity to start one. I started it, filled it immediately, and then I wanted to do another one. And at that point, I had worked in so many treatment centers, detoxes, adolescent facilities. I went to college for a lot of things, and then just my own life skills. And I just kind of like threw it all together and was like, this is our sober living, you know? And
so you own 2 sober livings. You own 3 sober livings. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And they're all filled now?
Yeah. Well, it's been a slow month this month, but it's still, I'm grateful for where we're at right now because I know a lot of other ones are struggling a lot this time of year.
Yeah. And on top of that, like you're getting in now, do you advertise like what your sober living is?
I don't give the address.
Okay. No, not that. I mean, for people that are looking for sober living.
Oh yeah. They're located in Tarzana, West Hills, and Woodland Hills.
Okay, cool. Right.
And then this month, I partnered up with this guy, and we're having a grand opening for a discount liquidation store on February 19th. And the plan with that is to be able to hire my clients so that we can give them jobs and, you know, side work.
Almost like Salvation does.
What was that?
Salvation Army?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Like I know well, actually people that have been on my show, they met at Salvation Army in a rehab, and that's an intense rehab, Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Like guys and girls couldn't even conversate with each other. They could be kicked out, you know. Yeah. And LA, it's just like, just don't fuck, please. Like it's in Salvation Army, it's a little different because I was in a co-ed sober living too. I was in co-ed rehab and a co-ed sober living. You know, there wasn't any. They trusted us. And there wasn't many. There was like 4 of us in my sober living because it was so like niche with the cannabis.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I forget what I was saying because I got went off on that rant. It happens. It's been a day. Either way, I'm gonna cut myself off now because I can't even think anymore. It's 2:00 here. You would think it gets 10:00 at night for me. It's just been like the longest week after like I've been like battling injury, but yeah, I'm better. Ish. My first day without like any like medicine or anything like that. I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And also not trying to take the said medicine as a history of said medicine in my body, if you know what I mean. So at the same time, it's just like those uncomfortable feelings of having to go through withdrawals again. And I didn't even like go for the ride.
Right.
It's even worse to go through the withdrawals when I didn't even buy the ticket for the ride.
You're like,
it's like
fun.
I know, like I didn't even get high at all. Like I just like took the medicine as prescribed, and now I have to go through fucking withdrawals. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm gonna have to feel this way. I should have to go through that too.
Your dedication, still doing this. I probably would have been like, no, reschedule.
No, it's fine. It's just I can still push through. I mean, I sit for a living. I join all day long. So, but I love what you're doing. The fact that you're sober livings, you're writing kids books, like you're trying to like liquidate thing. Oh, that's what it was. They at Salvation.
Yes.
See? They met. I haven't been like all week. They met Salvation Army, working the Salvation Army, and they gave them jobs working like like clothes and shit like, for them that were donated, and they worked for them doing all sifting through donations and all that kind of shit. It was like it reminds me of Real World. They throw into a house and then you work at the shop underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. My kid's dad actually went through the Salvation Army, I think like 2 years ago, and I mean, it was good for him. He didn't stay clean, but it was very structured, very, very structured.
Have you heard about because it's not really as popular here on the East Coast, but I heard about a lot in recovery over there when I lived in LA was the where they came into your house in the middle of the night and they would kidnap you, they put you in nature.
Oh, I heard about that. I think it was Kat Von D.
Something like that, like somewhere in Nevada, like some kind of like out of Utah. Yeah, and wilderness treatment center, and they would come to your parents would set it up. They would come in the house and they take from your room, throw you into this van, and take you to the wilderness for a couple months, shit bag. And do you imagine going through detox like in fucking woods, and how traumatic that would be to put some like. And they wonder why their numbers are so low, and they just the addicts like, well, addicts, what did you expect? Was worth a shot.
They're
it's like,
damn, they know how to tie a proper knot now. Why are they not fixed?
We're fucking addicts. Just treat us like people. Give us a bed. Give us 3 meals. We don't want to shit into a bag. Yeah. If I want to shit into a bag as an addict, that means bag a street.
With toilet water, but I'm not shitting in a bag.
Oh man! Well, thank you again, Rachel, for sitting down. Sorry for miscommunication this morning, but it was really, really nice getting to know you though, and I love finding out about children's books. I think some of the coolest shit I've heard in a long time that we're doing. Like it's something that's not enough is for kids that are confused right now. So I think that's fucking awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye.